Welcome everybody, welcome back to the live stream. It's time now for the product update by the product team. So in this final segment, we will take a look at how we improved Censhare since the last Ecosphere days. And it's so much that we'll give you a couple of real highlights. And we'll take a look at an exciting sneak preview of what will be available soon. Here's the floor to our product team.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to this year's product management slot at Ecosphere Days. My name is Alexander Rüttinger, and together with my colleague Susanne Hoferer, we'll be taking you through the next 45 minutes to show you some of the highlights and recent product developments from our product management team. I've just recently taken on the combined role of CPO and CTO, following upon Walter Bauer, who after 20 years of serving Censhare with great commitment, is moving on to new endeavors. While this is a substantial change, our focus remains on providing the best-in-breed solution for universal content management. We are aligning our product offering and technology to ensure that our clients and partners continue to leverage their digital content in the best possible manner, allowing them to generate business value through the use of Censhare as their businesses grow in the years to come. And with that, I'm now very happy to hand over to Susanne, who will be taking you through the next session, showing you some of the developments and features we've done in the last couple of months and what will be coming up in the near future. So I'm very happy to hand over to her. And just by the way, there's an integrated chat which is available for you to post your questions and give feedback, and we're very happy to address that then at a later stage. Thank you.
Hi, in the first section we would like to show you the enhancements of the product we did during the last 2 years since we last held the Ecosphere Days. The enhancements are market-driven, based on your feedback. You shaped our product that still stands for solving complex content challenges. Our colleagues will show you some of these highlights. You will see AI features, simplifying your day-to-day life with a demo of Google Vision AI. We worked on our starter kit family, giving you an easier entry point for your projects and demonstrating the DAM starter kit today. And we show you the possibilities of headless CMS, also with a starter kit and with a brand new media room.
Hello and welcome to this demonstration of the existing Censhare capability of automatic image and video tagging and analyzing. Today I'm going to demonstrate our connection to the Google Vision API and all its capabilities. Google is one example of an AI provider that assists us with this type of functionality. Here I have logged in to my Censhare system and I have this image to analyze. We can clearly see in our Quality Gate widget that we not yet have analyzed this using Google. All analysis tools are connected inside Analysis tab, regardless if you're working on an image or a video. What we see right now is this analysis has not yet been done. Let me trigger it. What happens here is that we are sending the image all the way to Google and back, and Google is providing us with some automatic keywords, content crawlers, additional properties, where this image has been used on the internet, and also object detections. Here we can see that it has found many different keywords to different relevances, all the different colors identified in this image, and some additional properties. The system automatically finds similar images in the system, would have similar tags. In the Matching Web Images widget, we can see how this image has been used across the internet. Maybe where it's used in its full or only a part of the image that has been used. The last part of the Google AI capabilities is the object detection. Here we can see that the system correctly has identified both a hat and a bag in this image. If you are a retailer or a manufacturer, it might be very relevant to be able to identify your products within an image. To continue, I will show you also our capabilities surrounding video. Here we have a video that has to be analyzed. In this case, I already analyzed it to ensure that we don't spend too much time on it. Of course, all functionality is collected within the Analysis tab. And similar to the image, we have a button to analyze. Upon clicking on this, we do the same method. We send the video file to Google and get back some keywords and additional properties. One key difference from an image and a video is the audio track. And in this case, the audio track is being transcribed automatically and in many languages. So we can see clearly here what is said within the video. All of these properties are stored and managed within the Censhare system and can therefore be searched for, queried for, and used to your advantage. Overall, we think this automatic tagging is the future. That you, driving a Censhare system, no longer need to put in manual efforts to identify your images and analyze your images. Instead, we let the robot do it for us. Hello and welcome to this demonstration of the existing Censhare capability of mass data editing. Today I will demonstrate to you how you can edit a big set of assets simultaneously through our properties editor. I will do so by demonstrating it directly in our Censhare 5 web client. Allow me to log in. We saw an increased need of the capability of editing multiple assets simultaneously. We saw a rise of this especially within the product information management domain. A lot of products, a lot of properties needs a nice and smooth way of being edited all in one way, one view, and simultaneously. Here we introduce the properties editor. In order to use the properties editor, you must first find the different assets that you're interested in. In order to do so, you can use the existing search capabilities of the Censhare system. Either through the fuzzy search in the top bar, an explicit search through detail or expert search, or maybe a predefined search that has been stored and shared with you within your organization. In this case, I want to find some products that I would like to update. Once I have a search result, I can use the filtering options to ensure I only have a subset of these assets ready for editing. Here I filter down to those assets that I want to enrich. In the top right corner, I now have the option to edit with the properties editor. I'm prompted with a dialog to select which configuration I would like to use. Here, your implementer or system administrator has prepared for you different configurations, depending on which user or role you are and depending on what you want to edit. In this case, I have 4 alternatives: a campaign properties, some prices, product information, or technical properties that I would like to update. In this case, I'm working with products, so I will select this one. The properties editor is a table-like view. We wanted to ensure that you get as much information possible visible for you so you can do the right decision. It's predefined which columns are here through these properties editor configurations, and it's defined which properties you can change and which ones you cannot. As we can see here, type is blurred out and grayed out, making it impossible for the user to actually change this value. We can also define which child assets are relevant in this editor experience. So in this case, we are showing all the related text assets and product items of this product. To work in the table, you do as expected. Highlight a cell to enter a value. The properties editor supports all Censhare data types. May it be a value list, maybe a numeric input, or something that has both a value and a unit. Here we support all the Censhare property types. The properties also has some additional features. I will not go through all of them, but just highlight some of them that you might like. One great benefit is the copy and pasting. You can easily select one value or multiple values and copy and paste it among your different cells. This is not only supported by numeric inputs, but also inputs that has more complexity. It's also possible for me to undo my last step, to go back. And the entire table itself is kind of flexible, and you can rearrange these columns and the orders of things to specify your individual view. Once we are ready, we can simply click the Save button to save our changes, or Save and Close to save and also close the editor. Once this save is done, a new asset version is created for all those affected assets. Voila! I now edited 32 assets all at once. Thank you. The DAM Starter Kit is a kickstart for your project. Even though we know our clients are very diverse in what they do and in their requirements, we do see a lot of similarity in the Censhare implementations. We know from our experience that most projects start with implementing the digital asset management capabilities. Therefore, in an attempt to reduce the time to market for the digital asset management capabilities and to give a smooth and easy way for new users into the system, we have created this pre-configuration. The pre-configurations consist of master data configuration, including a governance models and some pre-configured workflows, in combination with a reduced user interface in form of a workspace configuration. Today, I would like to show you some of these highlights. Here we have logged into the system with a user where the DAM Starter Kit has been enabled. What we can see is a new dashboard with reduced amount of widgets and tabs. A left navigation of My Pages, where we only kept those entry points that are relevant for the digital asset management. Across the workspace, you will see a reduction of widgets and tabs, and an attempt to make an intuitive workspace by naming tabs in a way so the user knows where to do their tasks. In addition to that, we have tried to keep it as consistent as possible across all asset types, so that you as a user can recognize yourself easily, regardless of which asset type you are interacting with. We have introduced a new left navigation entry point called Taxonomy to give you a clear overview of all your keywords and categories in your system, and also a place where you can manage those same. In the end, this entire new experience of working with Censhare is fully documented and available for you through our Ecosphere portal. Good luck and have fun with the DAM Starter Kit.
Hello, my name is Jor, and my topic today is the new media room based on the Headless CMS Client Starter Kit. As both topics for the media room and the Headless CMS Client Starter Kit are quite new, I will start with the basis, so the Headless CMS Client Starter Kit. If you look at this chart here, we see in the middle the Censhare solution itself, so with the DAM, PIM, and CMS. But also the information and data is of course centrally stored in Censhare. And on the left side you have the production user more or less that you already know. So working with the existing clients like the Censhare web client or the Java client, depending on the use case. But as we want to reach out to more external and casual users, so let it be your partners, your agencies, we are using the Headless CMS API as it is a door opener to connect with external applications and processes, and have built an application on top of that called HCMS Client Starter Kit to reach out exactly these kind of stakeholders. So this is meant as a starter kit for your very specific lightweight use cases. So a simplified user interface for your external stakeholders that you want to connect to Censhare, you want to collaborate with them, to involve them, but without granting them direct access into the Censhare central system via, for example, web client or Java client. So that's the new HCMS Client Starter Kit. And one use case, one example that we think brings a lot of value for your customers in the DAM area is the so-called media room on top of this HCMS Client Starter Kit. And this is what I want to show directly in a live demonstration. So now I'm accessing this media room. So the HCMS Client Starter Kit as an external user. So let me be an employee of your agency, partner, whatever. So I have a user management here, of course. I could even register by myself if your use case allows that, if this makes sense. But you have, of course, a complete different permission concept as it is in Censhare. So it's completely independent from your user management and permission management in Censhare. So if I log in here then, in this new client application, I will directly be led to the new media room. And you can already see it's all about media. So it shows me all the media assets that are published to this external client application. So it's of course completely in control of Censhare backend, so to speak, to decide which data should be provided to the external stakeholders. And then you have a very lightweight, simplified user interface that is very focused on this one example, so the media room. And if you have a very quick run through this application, so we have different views here. So I could, for example, switch to a tile view to have a bigger images. It's all about previewing. So you see the preview here, a bigger preview of this image here on the right side. I could even go and have a look at the bigger one. So depending on the media type, if I would have a video, I would say a video player here. It's of course about providing all the metadata that are relevant in the context of media assets and for example, the EXIF and IPTC data and all this kind of stuff, but also things like tags, or even if you have Google Vision connected here, this would be shown in the front end here. Same for colors, but also permissions. So you can see here we have a permission model here in this media room, and can easily decide who should see and be able to do what. So you see here in this example, the marketing and online editing departments are able to read this media asset, but are not able to modify or even delete it. So you have this permission concept behind. Then it's of course about downloading, so you can predefine which variants of your images or videos should be provided for download here in this front end. Then you have the possibility to collect. So you could either provide predefined collections from the headquarter, for example, or you can create collections by yourself to download media assets in a bulk, or to share it with your colleagues, for example. So let me just click through some things here. So we have, of course, also search here, which is based on the full text index, like in Censhare itself. Then we have a filter here, and this also shows which media types are supported out of the box of this media room. So it's all about images, videos, PDF, and zip files for the first version, but of course this can be extended with all media types or asset types that are supported in Censhare itself. So let's have a short look into the collections as well. So these are the collections that are either provided by the backend or collections that other users have shared here for me. And there I can go and download single files, or even download all the files that are part of this collection in one go, so to speak. So this is more or less the consuming part of this media room, but also we have a second part more in the direction of collaboration. So I'm able here, of course, to also upload media assets. So instead of, for example, to use the hot folder concept or whatever, you have this, can use this application to provide an easy way to upload media assets from external stakeholders into Censhare, and also, of course, approval workflow and kind of stuff is connected here. So I will just do this quickly. So if I drag and drop here some files, you can see the preview of the files I want to upload. And there you can see, like in Censhare Web, for example, there is a duplicate check. So I can then decide if I still want to upload this asset or if I want to skip it, for example. Yeah, so this is very, very quick, the short introduction into the functionality of the Media Room. One example on the HCMS Client Starter Kit to reach out, to connect, to involve your external stakeholders. And to summarize this very quickly, or to make it more clear, what the concept is of Censhare Web, and then now the new HCMS Client Starter Kit. So when to use what in which use case, this might be very helpful. So Censhare Web or even the Java client is of course part of the base setup. So it's more for the production user, for the internal ones. So the full production, very powerful and so on. And if you look at the HCMS Client Starter Kit, it's more an optional add-on for more external casual users to involve them for consuming, for collaboration, for whatever. And it's meant for more lightweight, very specific use cases. So one example, for example, is this media room, and it comes with additional infrastructure. And usually it is, at least the aim is to avoid that training is needed, because you have maybe many users, and users that you maybe even don't know, for example. Yeah, so thank you for now. That's the new Media Room and the HCMS Client Starter Kit.
This concludes the demos of the highlights that are already available today. Now we come to what we call the elevated tech stack. But before we head into the sneak preview, here's a small video that summarizes the idea behind the development.
Software development never stops. If you stop improving your product, you're history. And so for years and years, we continued to enhance Censhare and still do. We are an established enterprise solution with a proven track record. But technology sometimes makes steps that are no longer evolutionary, but revolutionary. For example, infrastructure as code, serverless computing, and many more things.
So our customers have a lot of challenges in evolving their marketing technology, also because of the increasing amount of tools that they are managing. So our fully integrated solution needs to play well with that increasing amount of tools.
Increasingly, we've been asked to provide Censhare in the cloud. In fact, I'd say most prospects are looking for cloud deployments today.
Customers and partners clearly want more. They want to use mainstream tools for configuring, managing, and extending Censhare. They are looking to use advanced cloud features like parallel operation, dynamic service activation, universal access, and more. And they want a Censhare that integrates more flexible with their existing marketing stack.
So we decided to make Censhare into a fully cloud-native solution. But as you might understand, that's easier said than done. And we know to port the full Censhare capabilities into the cloud will take many years ahead. But we are fully committed to make that next evolutionary step.
We thought and discussed long how to name this thing. We came up with Elevated Tech Stack because it described exactly what we were going to do. But I have to say, our vision of what to expect remained quite blurry in the beginning.
We took the vision of the elevated tech stack from pure slideware to reality. And we constantly validated our plans with key partners and analysts and revised the plans when necessary. The key result from this was to use a hybrid approach so that Censhare can be operated with many functions that provide easy and more efficient access but uses the same data and the same data model as today. So the Censhare core remains as is. Only in the very distant future there may be just the elevated tech stack.
What remains is our desire to solve complex content problems, both with the current product as well as with our new tech stack. And we have the team to make this happen.
Today, we are proud to present a sneak preview at our internal beta for the first time to a wider audience. This will be available soon and we are pretty excited about it. Enjoy!
The client I'm about to show you is a client leveraging the aspects of the new cloud architecture and the elevated tech stack. I'm happy that I today can show you a carefully selected set of features that we enabled in this new frontend. More is to come, and what you're about to see is a first sneak peek. So now I have logged into the Censhare system, and an experienced user will recognize himself straight away. We are keeping a lot of fundamentals from our previous client. In the top, you see the search bar where you can find any asset in the system. In the left, we're keeping the possibility to create tailor entry points for different parts of the system. Here, I just logged in, so I have landed on the dashboard and my home page. This page is tailor-made for me and my role. In this case, we have two components, one drop zone, where I can add new files to the system, but also a big, beautiful component that gives me previews of all categories in the system. One fundamental part of the system that we're also keeping is the possibility to interact with assets on an individual level. Let's take a closer look at one of those assets. So now I navigated to one individual asset page. I chose an image asset that I think is a good example and the most tangible example to get an understanding about. Here, the image has an overview section where we try to put all the most important information at a glance for the user to interact with. We have a big, beautiful preview so you can actually see the file, but also a highlighted subset of properties here in the file metadata component. In the properties section, we can see different subsets of properties encapsulated in different components. Here, for example, I can edit and manage different types of general asset properties, such as the name, description, and categories. But of course, the image asset has its unique set of properties that is only relevant for images, such as maybe EXIF information, IPTC data, or even XMP. The last section of this asset page is the relations section, where we have made it possible for you to add and remove and manage all the different types of relationships that are relevant for this specific asset type. In this case, in this easy example, we made it possible for you to add an image to a collection. In addition to these different sections and the different things you can do within them, we do have additional components to help the user with individual tasks. Example of that is, for example, our status and workflow component, where the user can manage an asset through its asset lifecycle and push it forward in the workflow. A communications component where you can add different types of comments and annotations to different assets. And a file component where you can upload and download your different files. The last thing I would like to show you is that we navigate to a different asset in the system and see how that slightly varies from this image asset page. I now navigated to a group asset. A group, a folder, or collection is a place where you add a lot of assets inside through the assignment relation. So here, clearly in the overview section, we found out that that was the most relevant information and therefore had made that very visual and very accessible for you straight away. Of course, individual additional components such as the workflow component is here, and also the possibility to interact through communication. In the end, we are building multiple of these different asset pages and unique setups of functionality to your liking. I hope you appreciated this sneak peek and a first glance at our new front-end client. Hello and welcome to this presentation that will serve as a first introduction to the topic of orchestration. Orchestration is really at the heart of our new architecture. And as you can imagine, with a sea of different microservices, we have to have a smooth way to manage those connections and the logic between them. Here enters our orchestration tool, Node-RED. Node-RED is a tool developed by IBM and today is managed by the JS Foundation that helps users across the world connect different types of services. Its very visual flow-based design makes it easy for everybody to understand what's going on. All the way from a developer that have access to all of its developing tools and scripting languages to a business person who rather wants to see a very visual overview and have an easy way of understanding what's going on. Let me show you how it works. So now I have logged into Node-RED. And to start with, I want to explain a little bit of the user interface. What you can see in front of you is an empty flow. I just added one little comment here to explain to you what we're about to do. On the left side, you see all the different nodes that exist in the system, all the way from Censhare specific nodes to common Node-RED nodes to some nodes that are specifically for third-party tools. For example, Redis, Slack, emails, and so on and so forth. Node-RED has a big set of existing nodes that comes from third parties. And all of these can be searched for in the internet and easily ingested into your system. But okay, let's use this tool to do something. The example I'm about to show you is a very basic one. I simply want something to come in and form as an input. I want to transform that a bit, make some kind of business logic, and then I want to output it. This is usually what happens in the communication between two different services, and usually what happens when our different types of implementers want to implement custom business logic. So allow me to do this. The first thing I will do is to get an inject node. The inject node here is just a way to manually trigger injection that mimics something coming from a third party. It can be a message sent from a different service or a call from an API. In this case, I will simply say that I want to have a string that is called hello world. Once I have this node, I will now add a second node, a function node that allows me to transform the information that has been injected here. Simply dragging and dropping and connecting the two nodes makes it very clear for me that after this injection we should do a calculation, a function or a transformation based on that information. Here, let's do some very basic coding. I will simply replace the payload message here with my own message and try to push that out. The last part, I will add an output. Once all of this is done, I can very easily click the deploy button to ensure that this is right here. Now, let's test this flow. By clicking this button, I manually trigger this that is mimicking a third-party message or API call or anything else. In the end, I injected hello world, my function calculated, transformed it, and made it into hello Ecosphere Days. Of course, here you can add additional logic and different types of clauses and cases within this logic here. But I will not take your time and build very extensive flows here in this demo. Instead, I will show you something we already have started with and that we are creating so you can get a glimpse on where you will be allowed to remix and where you will be getting out of the box in the Censhare system. Here we have an example of a different flow. This flow is called Create Asset Notification Flow, and it listens to different types of events in the system and sends a notification to you about a newly created asset. The flow itself is quite large and has many different points. It has also a lot of different error catching to ensure that everything's working smoothly. At a glance, it might seem a bit complicated and difficult to understand, but if we look closer, I think it's very understandable both by a developer, but also us people who are more in the business and thinking about those business requirements. Here, instead of a manual input, I'm listening to the front-end client to see if something has happened there. I'm listening to the different messages being sent and ensure that this flow is triggered based on that. Once the information comes in, I'm transforming it to a human-readable format, such as a JSON, and I'm making a function to figure out and calculate if the event I just got and the message I just got from the front end is a create one. If this is a create event, I will then filter down and to ensure that I only get this notification if it's in the specific domain that I want to. In this case, it's predefined and within that custom business logic, which domains are relevant or not. After that, we take and extract a subset of the properties of these assets to ensure that we can create a meaningful message. We take that information and actually create the message. From there, we have two different options. In this case, I will show you the first options where I package this into an email and actually send it out to an email via a normal and standard email node that exists directly in Node-RED. I can also use another output, another type of notification, Slack in this case, but I've chosen to disable that for now. Now that I'm in the front-end client, I can actually try to see if all of this is connected. What I will do is to create a new asset of any kind in this case. So I will create an asset that will go through Node-RED. I will put this in my root domain because I know that that domain filtering I just showed you is expecting something in the root domain. Upon creation, I can go back to Node-RED, open my debug messages to see if something has been catched, and I can see here clearly that something has been catched. It seems to be a create event. And if everything works smoothly, I should be able to see and get an email with this exact information. So what you just saw was something being triggered in the Censhare frontend through our new client. Those events going through all of the different microservices, creating these different messages that can be listened to and reacted to inside Node-RED. Node-RED picks that up, makes all the business logic necessary, and outputs what the user wants. In this case, a notification through an email. In the end, what Node-RED allows you to do is to remix and change everything between each node. If you in a project needs to get a different set of properties, it's very easy for you to adapt and change this specific function node. If you have a different set of domains, you can simply change it there. If you instead of wanting to send an email want to send a different type of notification, it can be really anything that you want. It's easy to connect it here in the flow. Overall, we think this will help you create your business logics, not only as a developer, but as a business implementer too. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this first glimpse, the first introduction to orchestration using Node-RED. Thank you.
Hi again, I'm Yor, and next topic is the Headless CMS Content Picker, which will be released in the very first version quite soon. The Content Picker is a user interface on top of the Headless CMS that can be added, embedded as a plugin add-on in your third-party application that allows your users to search in Censhare, to explore Censhare, to use the data from Censhare, but without actually switching to Censhare. So they stay in their application and can use this plugin to explore Censhare. So what they get here is an overview about data that is provided to this plugin. So it's again in full control of Censhare to publish the data that you want to provide to the third-party application. And then the user can have a overview here about the data that is provided. He can use the full text search here to find the data. He can sort the result here. He can click around to explore, to have a deeper look, to have a look at the preview or the metadata that is provided from Censhare. And while he's doing that, he can select the asset he wants to process afterwards. And he can also use the filter function, for example, to look for different asset types or MIME types even. And when he's ready with this, exploring, so to speak, he can then click on this import button, and then it's up to the third-party application to process this data. So for example, to import it into your third-party application to process it there, or even just to refer to it. So it can be used as an URL, for example, in newsletters or on your website, in your web CMS, for example, without even importing or storing the data in between. So it's totally up to you how you want to use the information you get from this picker and how to process it. And this is what the first version will look like when it's released. And it's in the first version all about media assets. But in one of the next versions, we will also support articles, means editorial content that can be used for your web CMS, for example, or your social media management to create posts, for example. Thank you for now.
Hello and welcome to my short talk about cloud-native technologies for operations. My name is Roberto Stile and I want to show you how the Elevated Tech Stack is leveraging cloud-native technologies for development and operations, specifically in the areas of deployment and monitoring. Regarding deployment, the runtime environment of the Elevated Tech Stack is a Kubernetes cluster. Here deployments are very simple and easy. You simply describe what is the desired configuration at the end of the deployment, and the cluster takes care automatically of all the steps in order to make the deployment happen at runtime for you. Generally, this takes a few minutes. It is then possible to implement continuous integration, continuous deployment pipelines in order to allow development to focus on the increments while the artifacts are built automatically and automatically deployed at runtime. Monitoring is crucial for everyday activities. Basically, it is important to keep an eye on the system health and the performance profile of a runtime environment. And to do so, the Elevated Tech Stack ships natively with three very important tools that allow us to access log files, traces, and key performance indicators of our systems without the need to fetch and grab the logs, the heap dumps, and the admin diagrams. Let me show you what I mean. Centralized logging is a central point in which I can access the logs and filter down them according to specific parameters. And let me show you very quickly what I mean. This is a log view over the previous 15 minutes of specific parameters that I wanted to drill down. In the namespace of the staging environment, I wanted to see everything related to GraphQL Asset API and specifically those messages that contain the word authentication, as you can see here. This message, each and every message is decorated with specific metadata that can be useful for analysis. If I want to observe how an API call propagated across the elements of the cluster and understand what was its performance profile, I can do so through the distributed tracing facility, which is again shipped by default with the Elevated Tech Stack. Here, for example, I'm showing you quite a complex call graph of a specific call, if you're interested in the call itself, is this one. You can drill down how the call propagated, what was the performance parameters, and in case I want a summary of the statistics, I can obtain it very easily, which is absolutely useful in case of debugging in development, root cause analysis in production, or even to reason about performance optimizations. Last but not least, I might want to have an overview of the performance of the whole cluster or single entities like microservices, and it's easy to do so through the access to the central dashboards that again are shipped by default with the elevated tech stack. And for example, here I can see how the Cloud Gateway service in the staging environment namespace is performing in terms of CPU, memory, and number of threads. But if I'm interested, for example, in how the cluster overall is performing, I can see the memory pressure, the memory usage over the total available memory, the CPU, the file system, and various other parameters that might be interesting for the analyst. Dashboards are fully configurable. You can add your metrics, you can add your aggregator function and create charts out of them.
While we will be further strengthening our integrated DAM, PIM, and CMS capabilities, especially in regards to online content distribution and the integration with third parties, we will be establishing our elevated tech stack as the future entry point for customizations and integrations. This aims at simplifying the adoption and integration of our core functionalities for our clients and partners in a cloud-native environment. We are certain that with all these features available in the pipe, Censhare will continue to be the first choice for all kinds of digital content challenges, supporting our clients along their digital transformation journey. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the entire product management team, first of all, for, of course, being our customers and for your attention today, and I hope you enjoyed the contents that we presented. And I'm very much looking forward to meeting with you personally, ideally, and for working with you together in the future. Thank you very much.
And that concludes our second afternoon of the Ecosphere Days. What a tremendous amount of cases, with AZL proving how important it is for the financial sector to manage your data centrally, and Land's End with a Censhare DAM experience. Since 2019 in Censhare, managing 2 million assets in 25 terabytes of data. And finally, our keynote speaker. When you hear Steven speak, you realize how much content customers demand today. And with our product innovation, we are ready to help you to manage it centrally. So there we are. That concludes 2 days full of information, and we hope that you had a good time. A big thank you to our customers and partners. A big thank you to our CEO, to our account managers and sales managers who participated in the event, and for all the great presentations that we just had. And a special thanks to our marketing team who did the coordination of a great event this year. Again, thanks so much. So for now, many thanks. See you next year. See you tomorrow, always together and always ready for a next step with you.